The Lightblade Grandmaster. You want to get it done, so let's get into it. Well, you don't just want to get it done, you want to dominate it, so I'm going to do my best to show you the safest strategies that I know of to hopefully help you get that clear. Or farm it, of course, whatever you prefer. The adept weapon that you can farm for this week is the Loaded Question High Impact Frame Arc Fusion Rifle, and it's actually pretty good. The role that you want to go for here is either Envious Assassin Controlled Burst or Overflow Controlled Burst. To me, both of these are very good. If you happen to get Reservoir Burst in the second column, that's fine too. To me, any combination of these roles are very good, as I feel like I could play into their strengths equally, so I'd be happy with either role. We've got Strand and Arc Surges this week, so we do want to make sure we get as much of that damage in our loadouts as possible. I went with Strand Titan, which I will most likely be making a build guide for soon, so look out for that. It's really strong and it makes this so much easier. You can do tons of damage relatively safely to the Hive Lightbearers and take out tons of adds easily. I used the Wishender bow with how many barrier champions there are, and with how much of the GM can be dealt with from long range. For my energy slot, I tried a couple runs with the fusion rifles for unstoppables, but there's only like 3 in the whole strike, so I ended up going with an auto rifle just to have an extra way to handle barrier champions. Lastly, for my heavy weapon, I went with the LMG Circular Logic to handle the many adds and do some work on the majors and the Lightblade as well. The next absolutely crucial guardian that you need is a Void Hunter running Omnioculus. This is kind of a running theme in my guides. This is going to make a few normally unbearable sections of this Grandmaster a total breeze with the on-command invisibility they will be providing the team. And I'm really looking at you, Screeb section. That section sucks. This Void Hunter ran Wishender as well, a fusion rifle, and a Hothead rocket launcher. Rockets can be good in this GM if you don't want to use a LMG. They provide quick burst damage, high damage to those beefier enemies. And finally, the third Guardian is kind of your pick. My top recommendation would be another Strand Titan or Strand Hunter though. It's not really worth it actually to bring a Wall of Radiance here, since most of this Grandmaster has areas where it actually is not going to be beneficial, as you'll be on the move most of the time, especially in the Lightblade room. But whatever you choose, feel free to copy those weapons that the first 2 Guardians had and you'll be just fine. Just make sure you have one way of stunning unstoppables at least. I would also recommend that everyone run double arc resist mods, since it is an arc threat and the Lightblade does a ton of arc damage. Alright, so loadouts out of the way, let's get into the GM. Like other GMs, this is all about positioning and knowing spawns, so you can take care of enemies before they even become a problem. What we'll do in the first area is hang all the way back here, use our Wishenders, and dish out about 10% damage to the Lightblade until he disappears. Then our Void Hunter can actually just make us invisible and we can skip this entire section. I know there's 2 barrier champions here, but I promise you will still get platinum if you skip these champions. And this next room can be kind of tough because it's very crowded, but what's nice here is that we can hang all the way back in this previous room anytime we want to. The first order of business here is taking out the barrier champions if possible, while also making sure that Hive Lightbearer doesn't one-shot us with the suppression grenade or the void shield throw when he goes into super, so you kind of have to deal with the champions and the Lightbearer at the same time. As you can see here, I usually like going left to the stairway to just solo the left barrier champion while the other 2 teammates focus on the Hive Guardian. If the Lightbearer ever goes into super and you don't have any way of suppressing it, all you have to do is run back to the previous room and wait for that super to go away. Just keep in mind that the shield throws can bounce all the way back here and one-shot you, so you really do need to keep your eye and ears open for that shield throw. This room contains a total of 3 Lightbearers, but only 2 barrier champions, so once you get those barriers out of the way, it makes it a little bit easier. Lots of enemies in here that can kill you very quickly, so you never want to be hanging out in the open outside of that stairway. Those second and third Lightbearers usually come out kind of close to each other though, so Strand Titans, you can super and kill them very quickly. And I've tried to test out what makes the second 2 Lightbearers spawn. I really can't figure it out. If you know, put it in the comments, but it always seems to be time-based. I don't think it has anything to do with the amount of enemies you've killed, so always be on the lookout for those Lightbearers. And from what I've seen, all 3 of them will usually enter the room after about 2 minutes from the time the encounter starts. Once this area is clear, nice work, this is a big section out of the way, it's time to quickly deal with the 2 barrier champions guarding the boat, along with a few other enemies. Once you hop on the boat, it's time for your Void Hunter to go to work. This player should keep the entire team invisible for the whole boat ride, and only worry about the Shrieker at the very end. do a 3, 2, 1 countdown and take it out before it can even react. Once you make it to the end, we'll have 2 more light bearers to deal with, 1 on each side. My suggestion, just move together as a team to 3v1 each knight, since taking on a knight solo is very risky and just not worth the 20 seconds that you might save. And remember, if you're using Wish Ender or anything anti-barrier, you can actually shoot through that barricade that the light bearers try to pop. After depositing those void orbs and opening the green door, these next 2 sections are all about that void hunter. We're going to hop on the boat and take another very safe boat ride. As long as your void hunter's build is set up correctly, you should be able to be completely invisible the entire time with no worries. And once you make it all the way to the end to that thrall room, just hop on this balcony or any one of the balconies to safely deal with them. They rarely ever attack you here. Sometimes they turn around, but a quick melee does all the work for you. Usually they'll just hop right on the boat so you can take them out safely with anything you like. And once we hop back on the boat, you know what time it is. It is time to deal with the Screebs. This can get totally out of hand if one of you dies, so just don't die. What we did is we did another 3, 2, 1 countdown to make sure that we jumped off and landed at the same spot so we could instantly go invisible. So what we're going to do here is just move together as a team, stay invisible the entire time. Very easy. Just make sure you walk around, keep your eye on the lucent moths that will occasionally be blocking your pathway, and that's it. Super safe, those Screebs will never chase you as long as you're invisible. Or if something bad happens and you die, either the invisible hunter can solo the section, or as a Strand Titan, you can actually kind of swipe your way through the entire thing. Once you make it to the end, the slow field will go away and you can safely go back to your team and revive them. So now we're kind of towards the end, close to the boss room. Just hang back here as far as you need and deal with that unstoppable abomination as quickly as you can. And the lucent moths here are really bad in here, so take your time. Use your Wish Ender as much as you need to make sure the area is clear. Then you can move to the opposite side of the cave, overlooking that final area before the boss room. What we'll want to do here is deal with the Shriekers if you can first, and then deal with the Lightblade. Again, that like 10% HP is going to make him disappear. Once those Shriekers are dead and the Lightblade is gone, then you can kind of work on the enemies that are in the middle. You've got a couple giant ogres, a couple unstoppable champions. So just stay up here the whole time. There's no reason to play it risky and put yourself in a dangerous situation. The only thing you'll have to worry about is the occasional Screeb that will try to jump up to your area, but they're very easy to see and you can easily just back up before they can explode. But once this whole area is clear, it is time for the Lightblade. The first order of business here is preferably getting your Void Hunter in place to trap the Lightblade in an endless game of tag. It's really easy to do. And no, it doesn't have to be your Void Hunter that's playing tag with a Lightblade. It just makes it better because especially if you have 2 Strand Titans, you really want those Strand Titans to be out in the field dealing with those barrier champions as much as possible. As you can see here, I'm just showing the POV of what it looks like. The Lightblade will continuously chase this Guardian and mostly will not do any ranged attacks. Sometimes his attention span is like 2 seconds, so he just looks somewhere else. But usually you could just trap him back in tag. What this is going to do is let the other 2 players deal with everything else much easier. This whole fight is just tons of memorization of ad spawns and locations, so I will do my best to let you know when and where you need to be for each part. You can also screenshot this graphic I made to walk you through the whole fight. Main thing here for all those green sections where it says boss immune, this is where the Lightbearer Guardians spawn in, so you'll want to make sure that your hunter has their super ready to go. If we can prevent the Hive Guardians from moving or entering super by tethering them and then obviously killing them, it'll make everything way easier. So that's kind of the setup you need to know before we get into the actual fight, but I think we're ready to go. So once you're in that position where the one player is playing tag with the Lightblade and the other 2 Guardians are clearing out of the enemies, you should be good to go. You can kind of tag team the boss together and get him down to about that 75% HP bar to where you'll have another round of Thrall spawn in, which you should easily be able to deal with. Once all those enemies are dead, then you can work on the Lightblade again to get him to that first HP breakpoint at 66%. But before you do so, reminder, just make sure that everyone has their supers ready to go, because once you get to that mark, the Lightbearer will spawn in along with 2 giant arc shielded knights. So Void Hunter, tether the middle, and then you can all work on that Hive Guardian first, and then take out the 2 arc shielded knights. And once you take out all 3 of these enemies, 2 barrier knights will spawn in from this area as long as you're positioned right here where I'm at. This will force the barrier champions to spawn across from you instead of on you, which you don't want. As you can see here, 1 Strand Titan can just super, suspend them, and easily finish them both off. But if that doesn't happen, it's okay, just try to handle them as quickly as you can. At this point, once we've trapped the Lightblade, the 2 other Guardians should be clearing out adds and damaging the Lightblade. But only a little bit more damage. Once you get to 50%, 2 more barriers will spawn in here, kind of in the middle, to where the other Strand Titan, or whatever you're using, can use their super quickly to take them out. So you always really want to have awareness of the boss's health bar. You have to be ready for all of those big enemy spawns. Hopefully you're able to take out those barrier champions quickly along with the other enemies. Then it's back to just dealing damage to the Lightblade to get him to that final HP breakpoint of 33%. To where this point your Void Hunter should definitely have their tether ready to take out the next round of Lightbearer plus Arc Shielded Knights. As you can see here, we were not perfectly set up to take out that Lightbearer and 2 Knights, so they did end up kind of moving to the outside area, but we were easily able to take them out with my super. But we still want to take out all the random adds that we can to make things easier, and then get the Lightblade to 25% HP, where the final 2 barriers will spawn in. Unfortunately, I did not get a clip of me being in the right position, but you want to be in the same spot that we were for the first round of barrier champions, and that will force them to spawn in across from you. It's not the worst thing in the world if you're not in perfect position like we were here. We ended up being completely fine. It's just something to keep in mind if you want that little bit extra control during this fight. Your Strand Titans should have their super back by now, so just do that quick suspend. Take them both out with your super, nice and easy. And then it's just back to more ad clear and finishing off the Lightblade. And it's a good idea to not get too cocky here. I've done that too many times on this strike. He's very aggressive, so it's not worth the risk of getting up close. You just want to hang back and deal with him safely so you get the clear. And that's the Lightblade. Once broken down, it becomes much less intimidating, and I hope you all get your clears from this video. And if you did, or if it was at least helpful, let me know. And make sure to join up on Discord. We'd love to see you there, especially if you're looking to get some Lightblade clears. Well, that is it for this one. I will see you all in the Discord or the next video.